Hi friends, and welcome back to my studio. My name is Tammy Ernest for those of you who are new, and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So I want to wish you a happy new year again. If you did not join me last week for my viewer question episode that I did where I wished you a happy new year on New Year's Day. If this is your first time viewing me this year, then I want to say Happy New Year. I am so happy to have you here today, and thank you for joining me, and I am so excited about 2025 and all the plans that I have for this coming year. Today I wanted to share some things that I finished over the Christmas holiday, and super excited about this as well. First thing you can see is my temperature quilt. Can you believe it? It is January, first week of January, first full week of January, and I have my temperature quilt. It's not completely done. So all of the blocks are together. I have all, I guess the ones I haven't shown you would be November and December. So November, you can see it turned colder. I love the October block and how the fall colors, the oranges and the yellows and the golds, and then you get to November and it's much more of it's turning, you can see the beginning of it, not too bad, and then turning cold by the end, and then the month of December, blues. Even a few purples in there where it got a little colder. But all the blues, just love it. I just love this pattern. I love how the trees change color throughout the year. Anytime that there's a 31st day in the month, then the tree is done with the color of the 31st day. So if you're not familiar with a temperature quilt, I've mentioned this many times in my videos last year, but I was never one that was really drawn to temperature quilts until I saw this pattern, and I absolutely love this whole theme, the whole pattern idea. So the idea with this quilt is that each house represents 1 month, and each of the half square triangles in the house represents 1 day. And I chose to do the high temperature of each day. You can choose whatever, whether it's the average, whether it's the high, whether it's the low, it's your preference. And then, so you create your half square triangle based on the temperature range of that day. This is a free pattern by the Fat Quarter Shop. I will link it down below. As far as I know, it's still available. It does say 2024 on it, you can see, but there's no reason you couldn't use this for another day or another year. The only thing that would change would be, because 2024 was a leap year, for one of the blocks, so that meant that there were 29 days in February, correct? For a leap year. So that meant we had one block in the February house that was not going to be used. In writing the pattern, the Fat Quarter Shop chose to make that on day number 8, which you can see here. So I'll just pull mine down. Right here. So they just had you put a solid square right there. You could have put it in anywhere that you wanted to on that date. You could have put it at the very end. By 2025 not being a leap year, that means you would have 2 days. So you could just put solid blocks. They chose to do a solid brown that was very similar to the roof, and that's what I did. You could put in a solid white or whatever your background color is. Maybe then it wouldn't be so noticeable in your final quilt. With 2, you might even be able to make it look like a door or a window or something like that. You could spread the 2 throughout the month, or you could just put them both at the end, whatever your choice is, but you could certainly change the color of it so it's not the brown that matches the roofs. But that's the idea of a temperature quilt, and I just absolutely love this. I did use Essex linen for all of mine, which makes it a little rougher feel, but I'm hoping once it's washed and everything that it'll take on that softer feel, which is what others have told me. Let me pull this back up here. So the only things I have left to do on this, there are borders that go around the edge. So I just literally put the blocks together and brought it down to show you. So there's just a white border. It matches the backing fabric, the background fabric that you see, and that goes around the border. Now, I do have a friend, Lisa, who mentioned that she finished her her temperature quilt the other day too, and she said she was actually going to put the legend, I guess you want to say, for the quilt pattern in the border, and I think that's a great idea, because what I mean by legend is Fat Quarter Shop gave you this temperature key here, so each color change is a 5-degree difference, or 5-degree range, and so then I put my color swatches down here. But somebody else just looking at this quilt, like when I brought it down to show my family, you know, I had to explain to them what it was, and so it would be kind of neat if you had a way of explaining that, whether it's a label on the back, whether it's you know, some sort of the legend. I think Lisa was actually going to use one of each of the half square triangles and put those in the border, and then put the range of that. So if there's some way that you want to add the legend in there, that would, or the key, the legend, whatever you want to call it, that would be a great thing to do, whether it's on the back or in the border. I don't know that I'm going to add mine into the border, but I do think that's a neat idea. But the other thing that I am going to add is my little, I'm going to do some little embroidery or cross stitch little motifs. I have the books that I'm going to use. I've been looking through that. So for my grandbabies that were born this year, on the day that they were born, I'm going to put a little boy or a little girl with their initials on it. For the weddings that we had this year, I'm going to put a couple on that date. Someone suggested I do their wedding colors, which I think is a neat idea. I'll have to see, you know, what color it lands on to see if that's going to work. And I'm going to do those. So I still have that little bit of cross stitch embroidery. I'm saying cross stitch because the motifs that I picked out are cross stitch motifs from a cross stitch book. And once I've finished those, I'll show you what book I used and all of that. Because I'm using linen, it does have kind of the grid in the fabric, so I think that would be an easy way to use, but I'll see once I get going whether that's really what I want to do. The other thing that I do want to change on this is April. April was an eclipse that came right over our house this year, so on April the 8th, and I did at the time make this just a cotton block with a dark blue that had a little bit of a yellow dots on it, kind of constellation type look, and then a yellow on the other half. I do think I'm going to switch this to the actual temperature for that day, and then do another little motif on that, a cross stitch motif on that, just to kind of keep it continuous. I wasn't really happy. I mean, I might have liked it better if I'd used some linen that was in a darker colors to keep more with the feel of the quilt. By adding this cotton piece in here, it didn't really go with it, even though it was a neat sentiment to the eclipse. I'm not happy with that block. So it won't take much, you know, just pulling apart a couple seams here, taking that block out and piecing that back in. So that is something else that I want to change. I have mentioned in the past that if I ever did this quilt again, I do think that I would swap some of the roofs to go in different directions. I think that might be a neat change up. You could even add a second chimney to some of these if you wanted to, just to make it more interesting, but I absolutely love this pattern. This is a free PDF on the Fat Quarter Shop, so I will link it down below. As far as I know, at least it was last year. I haven't looked before filming today whether this is still a free or if they're going to make any changes to it. I really don't know. I will look that up and link that information down below, but I'm super excited to have this almost nearing completion, and you'll see it again once I add the little motifs on there, and then once I quilt it too, I'll share those things with you again. But that is my temperature quilt, and I'll just straighten it out here. You can kind of get a peek what I'm going to talk about in a little bit right there too. Something else that I worked on over the Christmas holiday was my hometown holiday sampler. This was a quilt-along going on by the Fat Quarter Shop the end of 2024. I am tagging along behind, but I did want to show you some of the blocks that I finished. I have been noting in my pattern the day when I finish some blocks, and I always before, I don't know if you're kind of like me, you know, you were taught in school you don't write in your books, you don't, you know, that's kind of like the way we were. As I went through college and on, I marked up my books and I highlighted my books and I highlight my Bible and I write in my Bible, and so I kind of kept that same sentiment with patterns, is that I kept them, you know, I just didn't write on them, and I'm like, why not? You know, this is history as well. You know, somebody finds my book, they're going to see my handwriting in there, maybe some little notes that I've made. So as I'm finishing a block, not only does it help me to remember where I'm at, but it just adds a little bit of history in this. I don't know that I'm ever going to pass this on to somebody else to do. I don't know. But once I'm done with it, it kind of has a history of what I've been working on. So I have been putting the dates of the blocks as I finish them. And so I think, if I am correct, the next blocks that I need to show you are the Glimmer Holiday Star blocks. There were there are only two of these. Oh, okay. And here these two are. So you have quite a bit of piecing in these. They may look pretty complicated to you, but again, it's just, quilting is not that hard. Just do it one step at a time, and I think you can get it. So I did make a mistake when I was making these blocks, because to get this arrow shape that you have right here, you're adding easy corner triangles onto a rectangle. But you have to make sure that you put them in two different directions. And I read the pattern and it said to make 8. So I made 8 and put the half square triangles, not the half square triangles, the easy corner triangles on the same way for all 8. And that's not the way it goes. You need 4 of them going in one direction and 4 of them going in the other direction, so that when you meet them up, it makes that arrow shape. So, so love these blocks, just very cute. So you're making them, you're making 4 of these that are in the corner, 4 of these, and then joining them together. So it looks a lot more complicated than it is. Loving these colors. I am continuing to do my half square triangles. Again, easy corner triangles like I showed you last time or a couple times ago. When I'm adding, doing the easy corner triangles, and you know, before I clip away those 2 that are on the back, that I'm doing an extra little seam there, so that when I cut that apart, I already have those pieces together, and I'm just dropping them in a basket right now. At some point I can make pinwheel blocks with all of those extras, little things that I'm cutting away. So let me see if there's some. This one's not a real great block that you can see it, but there were some on these triangle pieces, or on these arrow pieces, that I could cut away, and they're tiny, tiny, tiny. And I'm not sure, I did bring one with me. Now this one is not from this block, it's from the next one. So let me show you the next block. The next blocks were called shimmer blocks. Before I go on to that, I did want to answer a question. I got an email asking what size design boards I had, because I'd shown them in my sewing room tour. This right here is the 14-inch size. I think all 3 of the boards that I have with me today are the 14-inch size. If you remember on my sewing room tour, I showed some that were down on a bottom shelf. They were stacked horizontally like this. Those were the 10-inch size, and then I have the 14-inch size, and then I do have larger ones that are the 18-inch size, and those were stacked up on with all my different projects. So I showed my temperature quilt sitting on that, and I showed my Pieceful basket quilt or block sitting on one of those. So those are the 18-inch size. These 14-inch ones were done vertically right next to my white cabinet there. So I do have 3 different sizes. Those are the ones I use most often. I do sometimes have 6-inch boards. I don't have a lot of them. Or I'll make even little smaller ones, and I'll stick them in my cross stitch bags, just as, you know, some people call them thread beds or whatever. But I just think they're cute. Just a little, if I can make a little design board that matches the bag that I'm using it in, I think that's kind of cute. But I don't have a whole lot of those. And the ones I have, I used to make a lot of my design boards, and then I just found that my finishing wasn't just as cute as Laurie's were. And so I've bought several here in the recent past, over the last year anyway. So those are the 3 sizes that I use in my sewing room: 18-inch, 14-inch, and then the 10-inch. All right, so these are the shimmer blocks, and there are 2 of these as well. So these have So Laurie has you do a four square here. So the background print, a yellow print, the blue print, and the yellow print. Then she has you add these easy corner triangles on both of those, and then a tiny little easy corner triangle right here on this corner to get this, this round effect right here in the middle. So this is where I'm talking about that I would trim these back two pieces. When you fold over your front fabric, when I fold over this background piece to get that half square triangle unit, that means on the back side I have the other half of this yellow print and I have half of that white or cream color print. So I will do one more stitch, just about, you know, not quite a ½ inch away from this line, and then I will cut right there, and then when I open those up, those are already half square triangles. I just need to trim them up. And you'll notice when you do these, with these little pieces right here are easy corner triangles as well. And so I did the same thing on those. I just did an extra little stitch a little bit away from where this line was. And let me show you this one, because this is the one that it comes from, I think. So here the red is the easy corner triangle on the side, and I did that extra little stitch, and when you trim it up, this is like a 1½ inch pinwheel. Isn't that so cute? But this is pretty tiny in itself, but each one of these half square triangle units was already together because I trimmed it off the back of that. Isn't that so cute? So I have, this one block came from these four that I trimmed off. And so then I'll have another one from these four that I trimmed off. So I'll only have a couple of these little tiny ones, but I just thought those were so cute. I did press all my seams open so it lies better, but I just think those are darling. So these are the shimmer blocks. There were 2 of those. When I finish the shimmer blocks, that means I have all of the star blocks that are in the quilt. I have those all finished. So all of the ones you see scattered throughout the quilt. The next thing to work on was the holly, what does she call them? The holly berries blocks. Now there are a total of 45 holly berries blocks. Whew, that was a lot. It uses 6 different colors of greens, and so 45 divided by 6, that's not an even number. So it has you do 8 in 3 colors and 7 in the other 3 colors. So that would be 824 plus 21 would be 45. So that's how she gets it. So I started on these. I did not finish all 45 of them. I started, so you're seeing, here's my design board where I had things laid out. I already had cut this one. There were 7 of these. So 14 of these squares paired with the others. There are 14 of these cut, so it makes again 7 of them, and then this one is one of the prints that there's 16 cut, so it will make 8 of these. I still need to cut the other greens. I didn't have all of those cut. You can see some of my other pieces. This is all of the red for the berry part. I have some of the actually, I think these were too big. When I cut these, I cut them at 3 instead of 2½, so those shouldn't even be there because I think they ended up being 2½. And these I might have cut 3, and when I sewed them, realized they were too big, so I needed to trim those down. Just a cutting error. And then I have some 1½ inch squares there. So I have some of the pieces to make the next ones, not all of them. I made 8, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I made 7 of these and decided that was enough for right now. I need to go back and work on these. So those are the holly berry blocks. I'm so excited because then the next one is the house block right here. I have the tree blocks and then just finish the letters. So it's not that far away. I've shown you the letters that I have done so far. I think I'm up through G. I think I'm up through G. At least, yeah, I think I'm up through G. So I'll continue to work on this. I hope you're stitching along with me. If you haven't quite finished it yet, we'll keep pace together and we'll keep working on these. So hope to have more of this to share with you for next week, and loving that. I just think this will be such a beautiful quilt to have on my bed over the winter time. I may even go put it on there once you know, it's still winter. It's not quite Christmas, but it's still winter. So if I get it quilted and bound, then I may even put it back on, put it on the quilt, or put it on the bed for this winter. Another thing I wanted to share with you today is the December Sew Sampler Box. This came in the mail over the holiday time. I love this box. This is, I love everything in this box. So fun. So the theme of this one is Flurries of Fun. And on the back there is a promo code for something free when you place an order. And there's also a second quilt pattern. Yeah, with a tutorial on the back. I mean, a QR code for a tutorial. So that's the theme. The pre-cut this month is Camille Roskelley's current line called Rosemary Cottage. Pop this open for you so you can see the prints and the colors. So there are 6. This is a petite fat quarter bundle. Now, if you go on the Fat Quarter Shop website, they have a full fat quarter bundle, which is 40 prints in this line. And there's also, this one isn't even petite. This one is called the Snowdrift fat quarter bundle because it makes the quilt that's in the box that I'll show you in just a minute. But here are the 6 prints that are included in this. Some of them very similar to Shoreline, like this one and this one. But then this one looks very much like her swoon blocks. Isn't that pretty? And then you have the florals, classic Camille Roskelley. The florals thrown in with the mauvey, peachy, not peach. It's a mauvey, pinky mauve color. And then that mauve color or the pink color to match. So those are the 6 fat quarters. There's a whole bunch more in the line. The fat quarter bundle comes with 40. If you get the petite fat quarter bundle, it comes with 12. And like I said, this one was just a 6 bundle, a 6 fat quarter bundle because it goes with this pattern. And the pattern is called Snowdrift. Isn't that cute? So this makes a 48 by 60 inch quilt. Snowdrift, don't they look like snowflakes? And you just need a little bit of additional yardage to go with this. And you have the quilt pattern. They do sell a finishing kit for this, so I'll link that down below. So such a cute pattern. But what I'm excited about is in the box as well, they have this 14-inch project bag, quilt as you go. Sorry for the glare. This is one of the June Taylor bags that you can do quilting, the quilt as you go. It includes the zipper for, this is a project bag, do you see? I just love this. So it includes the project, includes the vinyl, it includes the zipper, and it includes the stabilizer for one project bag. It needs 5 or 6 fat quarters or a quarter yard of 5 or 6 fat quarters. So wouldn't this make just the cutest project bag? I just think it would be so cute. So that's my plan, is to make the project bag with this little kit here. I have been doing quite a bit of cross stitch, especially over the Christmas holiday. I've got several new starts that I've done that I'm really enjoying. I started Winter Moon on December 21st. I started the Fox and Rabbit mystery quilt along for January. I've already have my January one almost completed, and so I plan on doing that this year in cross stitch. Our Quilt Circle membership is doing the 1 stitch at a time cross stitch pattern as our stitch along this year. It's the first time we've done a stitch along, so we're doing that in our membership as well. So those are at least 3 new starts that I have already, plus I've got other stuff. So I think I'll probably plan on doing another floss tube, maybe March time is what I'm thinking. I'll get some good progress on the ones that I've started here, and show you my progress on my others. So that's what I plan on doing with my fat quarter bundle, is I want to make that project bag. So also in the box this time, like I said, I just loved everything in the box this time. Look at this. It's a Laurie Holt Cute Cuts cutting mat. This is reversible. It has the red, my favorite. It has red on this side. I think this one's called Alpine on the other side, so it's a lighter green color. I love the red. I just love the red. I am so excited about this. This is in the 5 by 8 inch size, perfect to have next to your sewing machine. So a lot of times I keep this. So you saw in my sewing room tour, I can kind of talk about that, so because you know my room now. You know, I'll do my larger cutting up on my cutting station, but when I press open like half square triangle blocks and I need to just trim those little dog ears off, I'll have a little cutting mat right next to my sewing machine, so that when I press those half square triangles right next to me, then instead of having to get up and stand up at my cutting table, I just have this little mat right next to me, and I can just trim off those little dog ears and then get going on with my project. So I love, 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 love. I love this. Not the last thing, but another thing in the box this month this is called a pattern stand. Save valuable workspace on your sewing or cutting room table. It holds 1 to 14 pages and it's weighted so your pattern stays in place. I have not opened this yet. I was not able to find this on the website. It does say it's exclusive to Fat Quarter Shop, so it may be exclusive to the box. If it ever comes back into, or comes in stock, then on there, then I will link it. But isn't this fun? So classic blue color for Fat Quarter Shop. It's weighted so it stays sitting down. Let me grab some papers. Well, let me just grab this pattern. So it will work for a pattern like this. I want to open that up, but so it slips in and holds it just like that. I could also open this up and it would hold it that way as well. It holds up to 14 pages, so you could also put 8.5 by 11 sheets. You know, if you print off a PDF, you'd be able to hold it in there. So it would hold it up. You'd be able to sit it on your cutting table, your sewing table, behind your sewing machine maybe, so you can see your pattern. I love when a pattern is up and you're not having to keep looking over. The other thing that's nice for holding your patterns is Laurie Holt's Busy Bee, her easels. Let me find the name of them. Okay, it's called Laurie Holt's Bee's Knees book stands. Those are also great. Love the colors, the blue one that she has out now. But that would hold your pattern as well. Just something to keep your pattern up off your workspace. You know, our workspace is so limited. Just don't have a lot of time or a lot of space to have everything laid out flat, or your pattern gets stuck underneath something, you can't find it. So it's always great to have it up. So I like this little gadget. That's really cool. So by Purple Hobbies, pattern stand. So fun. Then the final thing in this month's box is the pattern for the Pieceful baskets. I need to go back. Did I ever make the block number 8? I don't quite remember. I need to go back. Maybe I got too busy in November and December and forgot to do the block number 8. So I need to work on these this next week. If I haven't done block number 8, then I need to do that. And then block number 9. This one is called the Windmill Basket Block. So the Pieceful baskets, we're on block number 9. We'll be finishing this up. So that means 10, 11, 12, so January, February, March boxes will include the end of this, and then a new one will start in April, I'm assuming. I don't have any inside scoop on that, but that's usually the way it's worked in the past anyway. So Pieceful baskets, this uses Camille Roskelley's Shoreline fabric, which has been a lot of fun to work with. And so I'll be working on those. So excited about the box this month. Now, one note about this project bag. I was not able to find this on Fat Quarter Shop website. Maybe June Taylor has it somewhere else. You can search the internet for that somewhere, but I was not able to find this. So if you are wanting to get this project bag that has everything, maybe you've never made project bags before. I have. Just personally, I've made some with the vinyl on the front. I've made some with just fabric on the front. You can do them. There's lots of tutorials out there. But if you're wanting this, until I can find a link for it, the only way to get it would be in this box. So there are some of these boxes available a la carte, which means you don't have to have a subscription to purchase it. Now that they have some left over, now that you see the contents in it, it is available at a little higher price than if you get it through the subscription. But if you're wanting this box, or even this right now, because I can't find this anywhere else, then there are some of these available as of the time I'm filming. There are some of these available a la carte. So I'll link that down below. You can grab that up. If you're wanting to get the subscription to the Sew Sampler box, it comes once a month. You see all the great things that are in there. There's always a pre-cut of fabric. There's always a pattern that uses that pre-cut. And then there's usually 2 or 3 other notions in there. And always a coupon on the back, and then additional pattern on the back of the little card that introduces the theme for the month. So that's the Sew Sampler box, and so excited about the contents of that. I really enjoy that. One last thing I wanted to share of you that was my personal sewing was this quilt. Do you remember this quilt? I showed this quilt, I want to say early last year, as my oldest whip. And I started this quilt when I first started quilting. I really don't even, I mean, it's been a long time ago. So the fabrics, I have no idea. I don't even know if I had a pattern for this. I mean, all it is a 9 patch, and then I had a square and a square. And in those square and a squares, I was trying out my embroidery machine. I had purchased, or I had gotten, my mom was getting rid of her Bernina that had the embroidery feature on it, and so this was my first and only attempt at embroidery. So when I showed you this the first time, I had all of the Scarecrow ladies done, and I had done them in a diagonal fashion, and I only had 2 of the sunflower blocks done, and I was done. I did not have the desire. Once I got into long arm quilting, I just didn't have the desire to do this embroidery. So I had a viewer reach out. Jane reached out and she said, hey, I have a lot of embroidery patterns. I do embroidery all the time. If you want, I'll finish that quilt for you. So I sent all of this to her. I sent the quilt top to her. I sent the threads that I had. I sent the program that I had that had this on there. I really don't even know if she ended up using that or not, or she found it on her own, but she finished this all of the sunflower blocks for me. It looks absolutely wonderful. So I got this back several months ago, and over the Christmas holiday, I put it on the long arm, and I have it finished now. I just need to do the binding on there. Hopefully that won't take as long as it did to finish the embroidery. But I did the long arm quilting on it. So this was a new pattern. Let me pull this in so you can see. I did not write down the name of this. I will link it down below. I believe it's called Modern Meander is what I think it is. But do you see that? I just love this. I love the texture this creates. So this one, kind of rounded corners, so kind of a bias cut. But these are, I made them, fairly large. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 inches. I'm not really sure. So this was a new pattern that I hadn't used before. So it nests up well into the line above it, so you're stitching, this would be the bottom of one row, and then this is the top of the next row that feeds up into there. So I did probably a 1/2 inch in between the spacing and the rows. I did use, I think I used the taupe, like the beige omni. I didn't write this down. I don't know. I didn't write down what I did. I was just so excited to do it, and I did it. I think I used the Omni Beige 3068 is what I used, because the colors of this are much more muted, and just wanted something that would kind of blend in. You can see my backing fabric. I just chose, I've had this backing fabric as long as I've been working on the front. Just a red with a star on it, and so you might be able to see the design on that a little bit. So Modern Meander is what I think the design name was. And first time I'd ever used this, I wanted to use something different, something I hadn't tried before, something I hadn't stitched on somebody else's before. I just wanted to see what it would look like, and I was super excited about this. I wanted something with texture. I didn't want to go something with a fall theme or sunflowers. I really just wanted something that was going to add some texture to it. I like the diagonal line of this because I did have some diagonals in the square and a square. And my 9 patches are running kind of on a diagonal theme. I mean, my colorways probably aren't perfect, you learn as you go, but I am so thrilled for this. So thrilled to have it done. So thankful for Jane reaching out and saying that she could do that for me, and she just did a great job. Love how it turned out. This is a very large quilt. I don't even know the measurements of it. I didn't write any of that stuff down. I don't know. I was just so excited to get it worked on. So also, I currently have my Calico Garden quilt on the long arm right here. So hopefully next week that'll be all finished up and I'll be able to show you that. I was hoping to have it done for this filming, but I didn't quite get it done. So it's about probably about a third of the way done, maybe halfway done with the long arm quilting on that. So I can't wait to show you that. And I prepped several others. I prepped my Somerville, I prepped my Joy Filled, have the backings for both of those, have the batting cut for both of those, and just didn't quite get done everything I wanted to do, but I'm certainly excited about the things that I did get done over the Christmas holiday. So that's my personal sewing for this week, and it's been so much fun to be in my sewing room. I cannot tell you, just so much fun to work on some of this. But I want to show you today also some customer quilts that have already gone home. These were all ones that were finished up prior to Christmas, and so I want to show you those as well. This very pretty quilt is done by Karen, and interesting story. She says the name of this is called Adam's Rib, and this is a pattern by Tony Jacobson. And the reason it's called Adam's Rib is that Katharine Hepburn wore a house coat in a movie called Adam's Rib, and the house coat that she had on had this pattern to it. So the Tony Jacobson, I guess, decided to turn that into a pattern. And also, while I was looking this up, I found that that house coat that Katharine Hepburn wore in that movie, let me look, it was 1949 that she created, or that she was starred in that movie. And the actual house coat that she wore went up for auction at some point. I can't find a date on it, but within modern time here. Not the 1949 is not modern time, but I can't find an exact date on it, but that coat sold for over $25,000. Is that not crazy? If that's true, if the site that I found is real. But so Tony Jacobson created this into a pattern. The original coat was done in black and white from what I remember, or from what I read on the internet. And Karen has made hers in red and white. She said the red and white fabric in the center part of the quilt was one she had from her stash. The poinsettia fabric around the outside, that is scarlet poinsettia, and that is a Michael Miller fabric. The backing fabric that she chose is by Basic Gray, and this one is called Jolly Good Pine Wonderland. Really pretty fabric. I like that. I like that backing fabric. Really pretty. So you can see the design. I like this design. It is kind of cool. So it looks like, I'm not seeing the pattern, but it almost looks like it's done in rows. I don't see, maybe a block right there. No? Maybe, yeah, okay, maybe a block right here. Her piecing is really nice, so it's kind of, at first I thought it was long rows, but there is a block right here. So you're having a small square, a red square, a rectangle. Then you have a red rectangle and a white square. Then you have a white square and a red rectangle, and then a rectangle, a red square, and a white square. So really cute. I like this pattern. Almost kind of a herringbone, but a little different from that. So really cute. This quilt measures 57 by 67. She's done the large outside border. I like how that ties the Christmas feel of it in this quilt with the poinsettias and then the green backing fabric. So Karen asked if I would use the celery color on this. So this is a fabric, this is a thread by Superior Threads, but it's in their So Fine line, and this color is called Celery. So let me bring it in a little closer. So you can see celery is just a light green, almost a goldy green type color. And she went it over the entire quilt top. So even on the whites and the reds, really cute. Really fun. I don't typically do a lot of color, and so being a little bold and putting a color on top of a white, but it turned out really, really nice. I really like the way it turned out. The pantograph she asked for is espresso, and she asked for it not to be too small. She wanted it to stay kind of loose and flowy, and so here is the entire row. So probably, I think I did this at 10 inches. When it pulled into Pro Stitcher, it was 15 inches tall. I did it at 10 inches. So you have large spirals, some paisley design, some small loops, and it loops over itself, and the lines on this do cross over so that it looks like it's a ribbon just going across the quilt. Very, very festive, looks really nice with those poinsettias. I did use celery on the back as well, so it blends in with the backing fabric. I mean, it's a light green, so if you're in close, you can see the lighter green color. But it blends more with the back, and then just adds that festive green on top of the red and white, so a really good choice. And so that is Karen's quilt. She did a really nice job on it. I have two quilts by Anne to share with you today, and I just love this fabric line. So pretty. This is called Elegance by Corinne Wells, and I love the muted colors of this. The mustardy colors, the muted rosy color here, the blues and the grays. I really love it. And it has some florals in it. It has, the yellow is a floral. There are some lighter low volume prints. We have just some straight lines, some florals. Just, I love it. And some starry type prints up there. I just really, really like this line. So this is Elegance, like I said. The pattern is called Starbox, and this is done by Missouri Star Quilt Company. I have linked it down below. The pattern actually has a little wider border. Anne has just done a cream color border that matches the background fabric that she's used. The border that shows on the pattern is more of a pattern border, you know, something a little darker like that, which you could add to it. But so Anne's quilt measures 48 by 59. The actual pattern is a little larger than that because the border is wider than the one that Anne chose to put on here. Very cute. I really like the little bit of a white border that she's put on, and then I think if you did a darker binding, it would be really, really pretty as kind of a frame to that quilt. And then that gives your eye a place to rest before moving on to that dark border, and I think that'd be really pretty. Here's the background fabric. This is kind of a mottled blue, gray, not blue, black, gray, taupe and brown all mixed in there together. Really cute. I'm going to have to get myself some of this. This pattern is done with jelly roll strips, or roly-poly actually, because Corinne Wells designs for Riley Blake, and they call their 2.5 inch rolls roly-polies. So all done with 2.5 inch strips. That's really, really cool. And to get this neat design with that kind of a pre-cut is really cool. The pantograph that we chose on this one is called Cottonwood, and this is done by Julie Hurt. Love her pantographs. I really like the density that her pantographs create. She has an Etsy site. I'll link it down below. You can go and look at that. Stitches out 2 rows at a time, and the 2 rows are offset just a tad bit. So you have a 6-pointed flower, connects into the next one, but at the same time it's stitching the row like below it, but the flowers are offset. So this is kind of catty corner, and it does it that way. I leave myself just a little bit of room in between each of the rows. So it's going to stitch out 2 rows at a time, but I leave myself just a little bit of a space in between the different rows so that I can make sure I line up really well. I've mentioned before, I think it's always better to leave a bit of a gap than to actually accidentally cross over and stitch up into the row above it. And so I leave myself a little bit of a gap. If you got in close, you're going to see that. If you're just looking at the overall design, you're not going to notice that little gap. Did use a cream color thread on this one that blends really nicely with the background fabrics. These are a creamy color. There's a background, but then there's also in these other squares, this is a low volume. And if you can kind of see that she's done the low volumes in the corners of the block, so you can see the star right here. And there's like almost a box. Can you see that box that's created with the low volume behind it? This one right here has a low volume, right? That's the cream color with the gold star on it. So I don't know if you can see that box right here. Maybe in one of these. You see how she's done the low volumes as creating that box around it. Really cute, but they're all done that way. But then, so where those blocks intersect is where you're getting this secondary pattern of this square right here. But that's creating that box. It gives the dimensions that it's behind the star. So really, really cute. Again, I just love this fabric line. I think it's really pretty. My favorite. Right there, and that includes all the colors that are used in the rest of the fabric line. It has the mustardy, and it has the dusty rose color, and the light blue, and then the kind of a sagey gray green color there. So very, very cute, and you did a really good job on this one. Anne's second quilt is also a Missouri Star Quilt Company pattern. This one actually uses layer cakes or 10-inch squares. And this pattern is called Winter Pines, measures 56 by 83. Really cute. Now, Anne has done all novelty fabrics from her stash, she says, and I like this. You're going to notice in the pattern it's more of a curated, actually the pattern has it done in blues and whites, which is kind of neat. But she's done hers all in Christmas fabrics, but novelty prints. So you have Santa and reindeer. You have some holly with holly berries, just some red and white. I really like that one. That looks like a Christmas tree. Some dogs, some Christmas trees, some words, just all different novelty prints. The background fabric here has almost like snowflake type imprints. It's almost like a cotton. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's like a creamy color, but then it's got like stamped batiks, but it's not covering the entire fabric like most batiks are. Just these little spots of pink or like purplish, bluish snowflakes is what it reminds me of. So really neat. Kind of feels like the snowflakes are just falling down through the treetops. She's done a couple of borders on here. She has a candy cane border and then Christmas light border around the edge. This one measures 56, I think I mentioned that already, 56 by 83. She did do a pieced backing on this one, which is really cute. She has a pretty nice size panel here in the middle that has more of a winter scene. You have reindeer, and I love the plaid. They're pulling firewood. And then she's added other rows, some other plaids. She's done a really nice job of interspersing a lot of different fabrics, but then making it large enough to for that entire quilt top. And then some snowman down at the on the bottom. Really cute. The pantograph on this one is called Midnight Sparkle. I really like this one for these snowflake type quilts. So it just has a swirl, a little bit of a swirl, and then it does just a up and down, horizontal, and then 2 diagonal. So you get just this nice little snowflake right there, and it's a little It's noticeable, the snowflake, because you're going over it so many times, not so many times, but it's up and down, over and across, and then 2 diagonals. So you're having a little bit of thread buildup there, which makes it a little more prominent than just the swirls. And the swirls make it look like the snow is just blowing all around. So Anne did ask if I would use a light green on the top and the bottom, so I used the celery color, and that is a light green goldish type of color. This is So Fine thread, which is put out by Superior Threads. So just a light green, it blends in nicely with this fabric, and just gives that little bit of a goldy type of green type feel. It blends really nicely with the greens and the reds and this background fabric there. So really cute quilt. You could do this with, you've got novelty Christmas fabrics, or perhaps you have lots of greens and reds that you want to use, and this would be a great quilt. So that's a Missouri Star pattern. This is Donna's quilt, and this measures 80 by 104. It's a very large quilt, smaller blocks though. I would say these are 5, maybe 6-inch blocks, and they're sailboats. Do you see them? You see the sailboats? Now, in looking at this, I would say a vast majority of this is men's shirts. So the only thing that I think is not men's shirts is this little anchor fabric right here. It's almost a tone on tone. It's got like little blue and red anchors on it, but this one is in several of the blocks. It's also done in one of the borders, which I'll show you just a minute. But the rest of this appears to be men's dress shirts. Yeah, all just men's cotton dress shirts. Let me show you farther down why I think it's men's shirts. This is what gave me the tip off that it's men's shirts, because right here on this sailboat is that a polo? The polo logo, I think, is what that is. And so you can just see that this was part of a man's shirt. And then the more you look, it's like, yep, I think they all are pretty much some sort of men's shirts is what it looks like. So the blocks alternate. There are sailboat blocks, you can see those, and then they alternate with just a square and a square block. What's interesting about the square and a square is that it has 4 different fabrics. Not all of them, so this one has that anchor print in the middle of it. Not all of the square and a square have anchors in the middle. Sometimes the anchors are on the outside, sometimes they're in the middle, sometimes they're around the outside, but that fabric is used quite a bit, and so I do think that that is yardage. And then that same anchor print is used as one of the borders. So all the sashing around every block, and it's actually around each one of the blocks, and then the blocks are connected together. So the sashing is this blue that borders every block, and then every block is the same like that. So it has the blue around, and then each of the blocks are put together. So no long horizontal sashing, no long vertical sashing until you get to the borders, and then that has the longer pieces, but everything else is done in a block fashion. Just really cute, really like this. What a great way to use up men's shirts, and a very pleasing design. Sometimes it's hard to find one, you know, using so many plaids or so many different designs, and it's hard to get something pleasing. She's done a really nice job with this one. The backing fabric is a blue star. This is 108-inch wide backing, and I'll link it down below. I didn't look at the selvage before I came on camera. So it is just a star print all over, some white or light blue stars, a little bit of darker stars, but it is a nice overall print there. For the pantograph, we used what's called squared, and I liked the squared pantograph because the blocks, you know, they're very, this quilt is laid out very grid fashion, so straight blocks, straight lines. We do have the half square triangles that are creating the sails in the sailboats. The boat part is just a rectangle with with easy corner triangles on the 2 sides. And then, so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. There's a little bit of yardage here, and then you have your half square triangle blocks here. This piece is actually larger than these half square triangles put together, so I'm not exactly sure how she put it all together, but it's really cute. For the pantograph, decided to go with something that added in some diagonal feel to it. You have a little bit of the diagonal with the sails, the way they run, but everything else is set out very grid-like pattern. So by adding in a diagonal dimension, we're not competing with the squares that are on here, but we're complementing the sailboat design in there. So this is called squared, and it's very angular, but it's set on point. So if you can imagine just a square, how you would draw a square one inside of the other, and then to link it to the next one, you would just go across and do that. But this is set on point, so you're coming in, you're creating, let me see, where is this one? You're making the small square, going around it a couple times. I'm trying to follow the line. Around, small square, there it is, and then make it larger. Actually, I stitched it out this direction. The way the backing fabric was oriented, it was so this quilt measures 80 by 104. Well, the backing is 108 wide, so I needed to orient the quilt. So my 108 is this way, but I needed to orient my 80 of the quilt top this way. So I actually stitched it out long ways, which was nice because that meant a few less passes. This is a very large quilt, so and I made my design only about 5 inches tall, maybe 4 inches tall here. So there was quite a few passes to go across, but because I'm doing it in the long direction, there's a little fewer than if I would have had the 80 side to side. I had the 80 top to bottom, so I'm doing the long direction. So it's actually stitching out this way from the way we're looking at it. So it comes in and it just does a square and a square, and then it echoes that out and goes on to the next one, square and a square, and then it crosses those lines and all of like that. So it's creating a diamond effect. This pantograph, it's going to look pretty much the same whichever direction you're going. So whether I'm going this way or I'm going this way, the overall look on the quilt top is the same. It's just following the path line is actually going this way. But very similar design. I did use a light gray thread on this one. Matches really well with the darker blues. A lot of these blocks, it's just going to blend in really well. And a light gray on the back as well. Really nice quilt. And this is Mary's Edelweiss quilt. So cute. So this was developed by Camille Roskelley. It also uses her fabric line called Shoreline. This is fat quarter friendly, and so you can buy a fat quarter bundle. You use the darker ones and some yardage. You'll need some yardage for the background here, but all of the leaves, you're using the green fat quarters. The flowers, you're using the blue fat quarters and the lighter blues. There's some white flowers as well. So this is basically set up. You've got 4 large blue, not always blue, 4 large flowers as 4 large blocks. And then your sashing is very large, and it is the leaf prints, or the leaf design here. And then the cornerstones are actually more of these flowers. So you could say this is, 4 blocks and then just very large sashing. You could look at it that, this is, the flowers here are the same size as the flowers here. But just in trying to describe it, that's the way it reminds me of, is I've got 4 large flowers. My sashing all around is all of the leaf prints. And then my cornerstones are more of those same flowers. So very square layout. And just super cute. It's just a really fun quilt. This does measure 75 by 75, so a very large quilt. Love Camille Roskelley's design. Her fabrics, very pretty. I love the blues. She's got a really pretty color of blue. This one's polka dot. She's also got the the stripes, and then the outside border is that darker blue stripe. The design, or the fabric on the back is minky, and this is in, I don't know the exact color, I'll link it down below, but like a light blue, a slate blue type color. Love the feel of the minky on the back, and that shows off the pantograph really well. This is Knit 1 Purl 2. And this pattern may be a little bit hard to find if you don't already own it. I know the designer was changing companies, or she was going to work for a different company, so some of the designs are not available on where I've linked them in the past, and they're now becoming available on other sites. And so if I can find the correct link, I will put it down below. But Knit 1 Purl 2, it's really, really cute. It does big loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it echoes those and then goes on to the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really fun. Nice coverage on this one. Just a nice design, really loopy and flowy. Looks really nice on the flowers. I did use white thread on this one. Yep, I did use white thread on this one, which I don't always do on dark fabrics, but I don't know, with the fabrics on this one, it feels more of a feminine quilt, and even though it's the blues and the greens, it doesn't feel like a masculine quilt. And I felt like green, I felt like the gray thread made it feel more masculine. And so I did with a white thread just to keep it light. You do notice it on these dark background fabrics, but you also have white polka dots on these dark background fabrics. So I think the white thread just adds into that garden type feel, and just keeps it light and airy. Maybe even lightens it up a little bit more, where I felt like a gray was going to darken it. Not terribly bad, but I just thought the white kept it light and bright. And then the minky on the back, the stitching blends in, and you really don't see that on the back. So really cute. Love this. This fabric line is still available, and I've linked it down below, or I think you can find this as a kit in some places as well. So you can get everything you need as one, and a very nice quilt. I have a lovely quilt here by Laurie. I don't have information on the pattern, and I apologize for that. It's done in squares, rectangles. It's a great way of showcasing yardage, that you just really love the pattern, the design of the fabric. So this is all done in sunflower themed fabric, and so you have large sunflowers down here. We have some blue print that's got wording on it. Love this bicycle print with the sunflowers in the basket on the front. A couple different kinds of sunflower prints. Some of them, this one has a little bit of a gingham behind it. You can see, not gingham, but more of a plaid. This one is like the sunflowers are growing tall on their vines, or on their stalks there. And really cute pattern. It kind of reminds me of like a 3-yard pattern, but I really don't know the fabric. I don't know the fabric or the pattern, either one on that, and I apologize. This quilt measures 49 by 62. Love the blue sashing. So the blue sashing in between all of the blocks, like finished, it's probably only 1 inch wide. So it's a super skinny one, but really, really cute. The backing fabric is another large sunflower. This one's not on the front. I like that this is the same design or same theme as the front, but not the exact same fabric. It's a very large sunflower on the back. So for the pantograph, we chose Flower Child, and Flower Child kind of stitches out in a zigzag. So we have a 5-petaled flower down below, and then the next one 5-petaled, so it's just zigzags the flowers up and down. I didn't make this super small, so they're measuring probably 5, maybe 4 inches tall is what I did. And let me bring this in close, maybe you can see it a little bit better, and see if we can see that. So I did use a cream color thread on this one. Felt white was going to be a little bright, and you can see even on those blues that the cream color is still kind of not bright, but you can see the quilting on that, which is fine. So I like the flower theme, the you know, a little different flower than sunflower, but it's still the flower theme, and I think it's really cute. We've got very boxy pattern here, so I think a flower theme on top of it is really nice. Not a super dense or super, what do I want to say, intricate flower. I think that would have been too much for this. But Flower Child is very loopy and open, and it's a nice flower shape without having a lot of details or lines or you know, points in it. It's a nice loopy flower design. Simple, I guess I want to say, simple. So even though we're doing the same pantograph on top of the same fabrics, I think it's a simple enough design that it blends in well and just gives it a nice finish. So pretty. All right, that is Laurie's quilt. So thank you for joining me today. I am so glad to be back and ready to start the new year. I hope you are excited too, and I hope you will join me again next week, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.